Once more, well done, Mr. Tsomokos. I welcome on the floor the Secretary General of the Ministry of Digital Governance, Mr. Christopoulos. Hi, Mr. Christopoulos. What is now the state of the digital economy and society in Greece? Let's start with that.
Yes, of course. First, let me thank you for the invitation. It is an honor to be here tonight and discuss about the digital transformation of Greece. I think that right now we're at a pretty good point in terms of the digitalization of the Greek society and the economy. We have several indices that tells us that it is a job well done up until now. There are several indicators that show that. For example, in connectivity, and I have the numbers in front of me, we have made significant progress, notably in the very high capacity networks and the 5G coverage. We need to increase the take-up of 100 megabps in the issue of connectivity and further improve the 5G coverage, because as you may all understand, infrastructure is crucial for the digital transformation of the society and the economy. But we've made a lot of progress in the area of digital skills in Greece. Right now, we are at the EU average of basic skills in the population at about 52%, while the EU average is being at 54%. And we are very good in women in advanced technologies, which is a very good indicator for us in the ministry. On the integration of digital technologies into business activities, and especially SMEs, we lag a bit behind. Only 39% of small and medium-sized enterprise have at least a basic level of digital intensity compared to the EU average, which is 55%. But 20% of the Greek SMEs sell their goods and services online, with an EU average being at an 18%. So we're above the EU average on that. And of course, last but not least, the digitalization of the state in Greece is moving very rapidly. So I would say that we have increased digital public services to 69% from 67%, which was last year, and we're well above the EU average, which is 65%. That shows that in terms of digitalizing the state, digitalizing the government, this work is being done in a very rapid and a very effective way. So I would say that to answer generally your question, what is very important during the last 3 years is that this digitalization, this digital transformation agenda that this government is has been implementing has created this dynamic, this momentum that is also it's bringing the economy and the society together. People are now trying to digitalize their personal lives, if I could say such a phrase, but also the economic activities in the market. And that has happened because, of course, we had the pandemic, but we had a very clear strategy as a government that we should move forward with a very concrete agenda of digitalizing the economy and the state.
Okay, let's focus on the economy. So what are the pillars of your strategy to digital transformation of the economy to boost competitiveness?
Well, as you may know, this ministry, the Ministry of Digital Governance, is not just a digital ministry. It's also a ministry that is trying to implement an agenda of a simplification of procedures and the improvement of the business environment. So I would say that our first pillar would be to digitalize, of course, the state and reduce red tape. We've done a lot of work on that. We have the GovGR portal that has increased the digital public services since March 2020 from 500 to 1,500, which is a big increase of digital public services. And the digital transactions of the Greek citizens with the state from 8.8 million in 2018 has increased to almost 560 million in 2022, which is, again, a very rapid increase. And I would say that the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises has done some calculations that I'm using most of the times. It says that in those 2 years, we have saved almost 300 million in administrative burdens in red tape, which means that the burdens that the businesses and the citizens have when interacting with the public administration have been reduced by 300 million euros, and they're expected to be reduced almost 1.3 billion in the next 5 years only from the digitalization process. Now, apart from that, apart from the GovGR and the digitalization of processes, we are also trying to do some innovative work in terms of gathering all the government procedures in one platform called Mythos, which is the registry of procedures. It's the first time that a country, at least in the OECD, has tried to put down all the procedures that the state has. We already have almost 2,000 procedures written down in this platform for the National Registry of Procedures, and we have also established an observatory that measures the outcome of our work, how much bureaucracy is being reduced in Greece, called the Observatory for the Bureaucracy. Now, the second pillar, I would say, is to create a favorable environment for attracting foreign investment in the IT sector in Greece. We're trying to improve the regulatory environment. We created a new regulation that codified and modernized all regulations. We institutionalized a cloud-first policy, which gave the signal to all the big IT companies that are now investing in Greece, for example, Microsoft, Google, and all these companies that have announced big investments in Greece. And we are trying also to create financial instruments through the RRF and through the new cohesion funds in order to be able to support SMEs and businesses in order to digitalize themselves. But I think that the main issue here is that we have given a signal through our regulatory interventions, and with the new regulation that we created, the law on new technologies that regulates IoT, AI, blockchain, and things like that, we have given the signal to the international markets that Greece is very mature in these types of technologies. And last but not least, our third pillar is that we're trying to support the reskilling and upskilling of the population, and especially of the employees in businesses, because we think that an essential problem and an essential issue that the market has right now is that it lacks the talent and it lacks the people that have already, some of them have already left during the crisis, and we need to bring them back, but we also need more talents from the STEM academia in order to be able to have the talent needed for all these investments that we're trying to attract, and of course for the digitalization of the Greek market. So we are investing heavily on digital reskilling and upskilling, which is the third pillar, I would say, that we need to focus as a ministry.
You mentioned bureaucracy, and I'm wondering, how do you fight bureaucracy? I mean, effective, because it still is a nightmare also for the citizens, but also business has a nightmare about that.
If you want to fight bureaucracy, you need to be very persistent, and you need to be very, very willing to have huge fights with the administration. Because in essence, you need to deal with procedures and with cultures inside the state that have been there forever and for many years. So yes, digitalization is one way to do it, but still, digitalization does not reduce bureaucracy if you don't redesign procedures, if you don't cut down on obligations, on information obligations, steps, and things that you need to do. I'll just give you an example. We have been trying for the last year to simplify and digitalize opening up a small business in Greece. And so that somebody who wants to open up a small business can do it online. And we're doing this project together with the tax authorities, and together with the social security authorities, and together with the registry for companies. Now, in order to digitalize all of this thing and to be able to for a person to be able to open up a business digitally from his house, we have redesigned the whole process. We have abolished steps, and that has been done with a huge fight with many of the agencies that are involved in the whole process, because everybody wants to keep their own silos. And the big success of this government is that it created a ministry, that it brought together all the agencies dealing with digitalization and simplification under one ministry, and that we can horizontally implement the agenda for the reduction of bureaucracy without having these silos that existed for so many years and that hindered the process of reducing bureaucracy in Greece.
Okay, let's say the future. What key achievements do you expect to reach in the next, let's say, 5 years from now?
There are certain areas that we would like to focus on in our digitalization agenda. First of all, of course, we need to focus a lot, as I said, on the reskilling and upskilling of the population, and to be able to attract talents both from abroad, but also to create talents in Greece, to increase the creation of talents in Greece in the IT sector, because this will be needed if we want to talk about a rapid digital transformation. But if I had to focus on a sector that is very crucial, in my personal opinion, to focus our efforts of digitalization, this is justice. Justice is a huge area that needs to be improved in Greece. We have already done a lot of interventions in the area of justice. We have tried to simplify and digitalize a lot of procedures, mainly having to do with administrative processes that are being serviced by the courts, like several certifications that the courts give to businesses and to citizens. But still, the whole area of justice and the whole digitalization of the judicial area is crucial, both for the transparency and democracy in general, but of course for the competitiveness issue and the economy, because without an effective and quick justice system, we cannot talk about a competitive story. A lot has been improved during the last years in the justice system. Now we have the technological tools and the big projects through the RRF and through the cohesion funds. They have already started to be implemented in order to digitalize this area as well.
And how the government does help to prepare Greek society for this new era of digital evolution?
Well, I think that the Greek society already has an idea because most of the people are actually using all the applications, their smartphones and everything. Not just the young people.
Oh.
I would say most of the people have an idea and are familiarized with how technology works in their daily lives. The big issue here is that when it comes to interacting with the government, you're always a bit more cautious on how you're going to do that, because you're interacting with something that if you don't do it in a proper way, you might have a problem. So what we need to do is we need to implement in a very effective way our reskilling and upskilling agenda for the general population. And I'm not talking right now for talents. I'm not talking about people who are who do coding and are specialized in this area. I'm talking about people who need to use technology in their everyday lives, personal lives, and in their jobs. For example, you get farmers, you get in the agricultural sector, you get third age people, old people that need to be reskilled and upskilled, and we have tried to do that through several initiatives like the ones we did for aged people in areas in Greece. And of course, we need to be very specific in the populations that we need to address. For example, we have this policy that we want to implement in the following months. We're going to use the one-stop shops, the KEPs, to become an on-the-spot training session, training area for people who want to go to these one-stop shops, to do their administrative issues, and then somebody will tell them how they're going to do it online through GovGR. We think that this will help people become more familiarized with the digital transformation agenda.
Okay. What is the ultimate ambition in terms of digitalizing Greece?
Well, I'd say that the ultimate ambition of digitalizing Greece is that if you ask me, I would like a full digital state. I wouldn't want a one-stop shop, I would like a no-stop shop. We want to fully digitalize the experience that a citizen or a business has with the state when it comes to interacting with any transaction regarding the state. This is one main goal. We want to reduce at the minimum the physical presence of anyone in the Greek state. A second big goal, a second big vision is to attract as much foreign investment as we can in Greece, because I think that we now have the environment, and I heard before from the previous panels that the foreign direct investments here in Greece are getting bigger and bigger. We need more, of course, but I think that the IT sector has already provided us with a lot of foreign investments here in Greece, and we want to increase it even more. And in order to do that, we need to be able to constantly improve the regulatory environment, because we're living at this age that things move so rapidly, they move so quickly, that from a legal point of view, from a regulatory point of view, the states need to be in a constant awareness in order to adapt the regulatory environment in these new areas. So I would say that these two would mainly be two of the biggest goals that we should have for the following years and the years to come.
Following years, you mean like a decade or more?
A decade would be a sufficient time span. But if I could say that the main thing here, and this comes from my years of expertise in the public administration, let's say, the main issue here is that we need, the main goal, let's say, both for the competitiveness issue as well as the state issue, is that we need to regain citizens' and businesses' trust, because trust is a resource that is very much needed when you want to become a very competitive economy. And I would say that by looking at some indexes that I had been looking during the past weeks, there is an index in the OECD called Trust in Institutions, Trust in Government. And for the first time, Greece is at a very high place in this index for 3 consecutive years, from 2019 to 2021. This has never happened before. The index goes back to 2007, and it was always very low, with the exception of 1 or 2 years that it had a peak, and then it again went down. Now, since 2019, the index of the OECD in trust of citizens to institutions and government is high, above countries like Italy and Spain, and just one place behind the US, and it's moving even higher every year. This is the first time that has happened. So one of the main goals for the next decade is to retain this trust, because in my opinion, trust is a resource for competitiveness.
Mr. Christopoulos, please share with us examples of competitive advantage that emerged from Greece's digital transformation.
competitive advantage from Greece's digital transformation. In terms of what we've done during the past 3 years, I think that the way that we reacted to the pandemic through this digital agenda was quite innovative, and it was quite an out-of-the-box thinking, which is not a very usual thing to do in Greece, at least in the Greek state. So what we did is that for the first time since many years, we tried to think of innovative ideas in the administration to combat the crisis. And we've done that ever since. And we're using these innovative ideas for the crisis in order to build upon those ideas better services, better digital services for both for the public administration, but also for the economy as a whole. What Greece has done in the area of the startup ecosystem, and I see the Deputy Minister here, Mr. Dimas, has been extraordinary, and I think it will be a competitive advantage in the future, because we have one of the most vibrant startup ecosystems, and by having this dynamic in the digital area during these past 3 years, this startup ecosystem is beginning to boost. And you can see it from, from the money that they have raised in 2021, which is three times more than what they did last year, or from startup companies that have exited and have now become international, have gained a lot of resources. Now, there are a lot of areas where we have tried to think out of the box and become more competitive. I would say that the final one would be the regulations. We learned how to make more effective and more adaptive and more smart regulations, at least in the area of technology and of the digital transformation. And that is something that I always think and I always believe that international markets see and value when they make their decisions. Now, if I had one area that I would like to say and focus that I think is a success in the Ministry of Digital Governance is what we've done in the audiovisual sector, which I don't know how many of you know that the Ministry of Digital Governance has also under its responsibility and its competence the attraction of investment in the audiovisual sector, meaning films, cinema, video gaming in Greece. This is an area that we have tried to think out of the box as well, and it has as an effect, we attracted more than 100 foreign projects, foreign investments in Greece in this area, in the audiovisual area, which is a very dynamic and a very innovative area, economic activity. And this should also be added to the success story, what we feel is a success story of the digital transformation in Greece, because it moves in the area of digital transformation as well.
So, as a conclusion, your ministry can give government a success story.
Listen, a success story is always a very subjective.
It is.
The numbers talk by themselves. Okay, I've been in this area of administrative reform, let's say, for many years. What has happened during the last 3 years has never happened before during the last 15 years that I remember the Greek state. The digitalization that has taken place and the dynamic and the rapid increase of digital services and of the reduction of administrative burdens in the public administration, I don't think that has ever happened in any other state. And I mean that in only 3 years we managed to achieve this thing. and it needed a lot of effort. So yes, if I should answer this question, yes, it is a success story, and it is a success story that is being measured. It has numbers between it, 500 digital services to 1,500 digital services, 8.8 transactions, digital transactions in 2018, 560 million digital transactions in 2022. I think that this is the fundamentals of a success story.
Thank you so much.
I thank you
Mr.
very much.
Christopoulos.
Thank you.
I don't have the schedule, but something is coming. Okay, probably Mr. Dimas, I don't know. Thank you so much.